Welcome, Protege. In the previous tutorial, we showed you how to create your first sketch. In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to extrude sketches to make 3D bodies. I think the easiest way to do this is to show you how to make support structures such as L channel, C channel, square tubing, circular tubing, and I-beams. So we'll go ahead and start with square tubing. So you want to go to create sketch, and I'll start on the top plane first. Then under sketch, I'm going to do a center rectangle, and then click on the origin, and we'll just make this 2 by 2. Remember, we have to fully define our sketch. That sketch is fully defined, so I'm going to stop sketch. And to extrude, you go under create, and you can either hit the extrude button here, or usually when you see a capital letter next to the operation, that means it's a keyboard shortcut. So for extrude, you can hit the E on your keyboard and it will give you the extrude operation. Now we have to select our profile, which is the square we just drew. And you can either drag it to the dimension you want, or you can just go here. Usually if it's a big dimension, you want to type it in here, because dragging it 10 inches will be kind of a pain. So I'm going to make this 5 inches. And then let's home it so we can view the whole part. Now I wanted to make a piece of square tubing, so we have to somehow hollow the inside out. And to do that, you can either go under modify and select the shell command. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go back into our sketch. And to edit the sketch, you just right click and then hit edit sketch. And now we have to draw another square inside of the first square that we drew. So I'm going to draw another center point rectangle. I'm going to make the thickness of this 1/10 of an inch. So that needs to be 1.8. And now we can stop sketch, and well, it didn't hollow it out. And we can't click on the sketch that we just created to be able to extrude it. So what you have to do is delete the feature, go back into your sketch by editing sketch, now you have to click back on the profile that you want to extrude, stop the sketch. Now that it's highlighted, now you can extrude it. So I'm going to make this 5 inches. And usually square tubing has rounded corners. And to round the corners, you use an operation called fillet. And that can be found under the Modify tab. And it also has a shortcut key, which is F. But I'm going to stay in the sketch tab, because you can do fillet in there as well. And that would be under sketch. And sometimes you can click on the point here to fillet, but other times you have to click on the two edges. And now you'll get a rounded corner there. I'm just going to make that 0.1. And I'm going to do all of the corners. Okay, so we have all the corners filleted, and now we can just hit enter. Stop sketch, and now all of our corners are rounded. So let's go ahead and save this sketch. Another quick thing is if you have to change the length, then you can quickly right click on the extruded feature and go to edit feature. And now you can change the dimensions. Say we want it to go to 5.5 inches. Now that feature is modified. And then save it again. Okay. So that's it for the piece of square tubing. Next we'll do the circular tubing. So to create the circular tubing, I'm going to create a sketch on the top plane and then do a center point circle. Start at the origin, dimension it. I'm just going to make this 2 inches. Stop sketch. I'm going to hit the E key on the keyboard for extrude, select the profile, and now we can drag it. But again, this is a circular bar and we want circular tubing. But I wanted to show you something real quick. So let's go back to edit feature. And in extrude, there's this other feature that you can do called taper angle. So you can specify the angle. I'm just going to use 10 degrees and then we'll look at the side view. And this was your original circle down here, and it tapers at a 10-degree angle up to the length that you specified. So I'm going to go back and edit this feature, and I don't want to taper on this. Hit OK. And now I want to hollow this out again, similar to the square tubing. But instead of deleting this feature and going back to edit the sketch, I'm going to create a sketch on the body that we just created. So I'm going to pick this face so it will draw the sketch on top of that face. And now we can do another center point circle. I'm just going to make this 1.6 inches. Stop sketch. Now we want to do extrude again. And notice that our operation is showing new body. We don't want a new body here. We want to get rid of the material. So we have to click the drop down menu and select cut. And to cut, you can drag it. You can either do a distance, and that was 2 inches. But sometimes you don't really remember the length that you specified, so you can just do all. And it'll give you a cut. It'll cut all the way through. But let's say we just did a distance and we did 2 inches. But then we want to go back and modify the length of the circular tubing. Let's say we do 3 inches. Now the cut doesn't go all the way through since we specified distance. So I like to use, for extent, I like to use all. So whenever we change the length of it, the cut will always go through. And that's it for the circular tubing, so I'm going to save that. Now let's go to the L channel. So I'm going to create a sketch, draw on the top plane, and for L channel you can either draw the structure using the 2-point rectangle. So you draw one rectangle and then you can draw the other rectangle on top of it, and then dimension it that way. Or you can use line and draw it out. Just try to get a rough sketch of it, because we can just dimension it when we finish drawing it out. And then just hit the escape key to get out of the line tool. And for this piece of L channel, I'm just going to make this 0.1 and this 0.1 as well. We still have to do some constraining because we can still drag it up and down, and we can drag this part left and right, so we still have to dimension it some. Let's make this 3 inches. And we'll make this 3 inches as well. Now our sketch is fully defined since all of our lines turn black. Let's stop the sketch. E for extrude. Click on the profile. And let's do 3 inches here. It's kind of a big piece of L channel, but that doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and save this. For this, you can also fillet the edges. I showed you how you can do it in the sketch, so now I'll show you how you can do it under modify. And here you can just select an edge. So for example, this edge, and then drag it out. You can make that to be 0.1. Save that. Now let's move on to the C channel. Create sketch, top plane. Now instead of redoing the whole sketch, I'm sure you realize that you can just build off of this L channel. So I'm going to X out of here. Don't save. And what you can do is right click on your L channel and make a copy of it. You want to copy to the project that you're in this case it's learn, and then hit the copy button. It made a copy for us, so now we want to rename it by right clicking and hit the rename, and then just name it C channel. So now I'm going to go back to edit sketch, and let's build off of this one. I'm just going to do a 2-point rectangle here. Click and drag. And instead of specifying the dimension here, I'm going to use what's called constraints. And you have a bunch of constraints that you can use within your sketch, such as coincident, collinear, midpoint. All of these operations, which are very useful, and we'll show you how to use each one. By using these constraints, you save on editing one dimension. So for example, if I wanted to go back and change this dimension from 3 inches to 2 inches, I would just have to change this one because this line would be constrained to here. And for this, I would want to make this collinear, so I would click on that edge, hold down the control key and click on that edge, and then we can make them collinear. And now these lines are on the same imaginary line. Say I were to draw a line from here to here, both of these lines would lie on that same line, which is what collinear is. We still have an undefined constraint, so let's give this a width. Make this 0.1. And now our sketch is fully defined. Stop sketch. But we run into the same issue since we edited the sketch. So I'm going to get rid of this feature. Delete. And it'll give you a warning saying that this feature is referenced by other features, and that's because this fillet is referenced to this extrusion. So when we get rid of that, Fusion 360 is not sure what it will fillet. So it just gets rid of both of them. So now we have to get back to edit sketch. And since you still have this line here, you would have to click on this sketch, hold down Control, and hit on that sketch. To get rid of that issue, you can use an operation called trim. And you can simply cut out this line. But since we did that, it unconstrained one of our dimensions. So now we have to go back and add an operation, or excuse me, add a dimension. I'm going to trim this line as well. And then another constraint you can do is make 2 points coincident. So say I select this point, hold down the control key and select this point, the origin, and then hit coincident. It will put those 2 points right on top of each other. Now the sketch is fully defined. I only have to select just this one profile and it'll grab the whole thing this time. So stop sketch, E for extrude. Now we can specify the length. Let's just make that 3 inches. I'll skip on the fillets for this one. And the last one we have to do is an I-beam. So I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to save this. Sketch on the top plane. And now we can start drawing out your I-beam. Again, don't worry about getting the dimensions exact because we can always go back and dimension it. Say you were to make a bad line, I can go back, click on that line, hit delete, and now I can make the lines again. And if your sketch is fully enclosed, then it will become shaded. When you click on it, the whole inside will turn a light blue. So now we can start dimensioning this. We're still not constrained, and that's because we're not referencing this to the origin. And again, we can leverage one of these constraints. So I'm going to use coincident. Click on this point, hold down Control, click on this point at the origin and say coincident. And we're still not constrained. This is a dimension. Let's make this 1.5. Now this sketch is fully defined. Let's stop sketch. And now we can extrude it. Let's make that 5 inches. Now we have a piece of I-beam. Go ahead and save that. So that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe below or leave a question or comment.